Hi, my name is Ian Finch. I'm the co-founder and managing director of Mando Group, a digital agency in Liverpool, England, who operate across the world and we've been going 17 years. User experience, customer experience has evolved to such an extent where I heard a phrase coined called nowism, which I use internally, which is, does what we do solve nowism? Can I get it now? Do I understand it now? Have I got a clear next step? So once I've done it, I can get on to my next now. And I don't think it stems from a lack of patience. I think it stems from we've evolved and we just don't have to, because if things are done properly, it can be instant, and there's no reason to have messages like user error. There's no such thing as a user error. It's software wasn't put together right, and so I think that's probably the biggest change I've seen is the expectations are high. And I think that's it really. There's just that nowism that I just want what I need, where I need it. So I don't write anything down much now. I just have it all on Evernote because I know I'll always have a phone on me. If I'm at a computer, Evernote's there. If I'm on a tablet on a train, Evernote's there as well. I can dictaphone into it, I can take pictures into it, I can write into it. But I think the other side of nowism is, and I don't mean this negatively, but I'll do an amusing illustration, but I'm 22, I want to be paid like a 40-year-old that's earned a keep for 20 years. I want my work-life balance now. I want my sabbatical by the time I'm 24. And I think the current generation, and rightly so, have higher expectations of work-life balance, and that's good. I just don't think you can ever prescribe what a balance is for any one individual because it varies per person. But there's almost, instead of there being a pressure to have a work side, there's a pressure to have a life side, and actually it's balance. I think with nowism comes with an expectation of rapid progress, not just what you expect of your devices or your software, but what bosses expect of employees, what employees expect of bosses. Middle management have got it worst of all because they're getting squeezed between the two. So I think this from now and onwards, there's this massive need for agility and flex. And so I think we're in a situation where really a business plan is just, and frankly, rightly so, but a business plan is just a working assumption at any point in time. Cash flow projection is a working assumption at any point in time. The idea of doing a 10-year plan, I do them, because you've got to start at the end and work your way backwards just to know what's next, but for me, it's always been like, well, that's a vision, that's a dream, we will work towards it, but I'm not going to miss an opportunity on the way there because market changes, people change, circumstances change, and I think it's about how you adapt and respond to environmental, contextual, economic market changes at any one point in time that defines your ability as a leader. People watch how you ride with the punches. Are you going to blame? Are you going to accept responsibility? Are you going to get dragged under, or are you going to overcome? And I think whether it's interpersonal, whether it's functional activity, the biggest challenge is around always having that ability to flex and ebb and flow and still keep your focus. In more mature organisations, I see execs and line managers and employees all coming together and much more as a team. In how I define less mature or perhaps more traditional or archaic organisations, you still have the, at its worst, there's a mandate from on high with a deadline and a budget, but there's no relation to the requirements. And any change, any requirement is verbal. Any complaint or statement of this is wrong is done by email. So it's only the bad that's recorded. So there's no trace back to its source, and So at its best, I see people working as teams, and at its worst, I see people playing politics. And when things are difficult, instead of responding with agility and bringing everyone together and accepting it, they concern how it's not going to work and then start getting into self-protectionism. And that still happens. And you can almost go, good projects, people work as a team, bad projects, political protectionism. Positively, I see more people accepting unknowns and being able to put things in place to manage that. For a leader, you set a direction, you articulate it clearly, and then you communicate, and you communicate, and then you communicate, and then you communicate, and then you communicate, and all the other rules are just communicate. And I don't think you can ever over-communicate with staff, with clients. In 17 years, no one's ever said, "I wish you'd talk to me less." Ever. Less emails, granted, right? Not noise, genuine communication. But when it's been meeting notes, when it's been follow-ups, when it's clear decisions that need to happen, when it's reaffirmment of vision and goals, no one's ever said, "I wish you'd tell me less." And I think the other is cliche but true, and it's the 80-20 rule still applies. 80% work done by 20% of people, and it's so hard not to overwork your best people because they're good and they're flexible and they're agile and they can manage and they can communicate and they can, and so there's people that can't or aren't there yet, and when you're trying to move as rapidly as the market dictates, you've got to really look after your best people and really be mindful of that rule. And I'm not saying get all Jack Welch on everybody, call people a star and a rock star and give them planes and no one else gets it and knows who's huge golf, but look after the people that look after you and make sure there's a real equitability and fairness in the way you deal. And I think lastly, consistency, just being who you are with customers, who you are with staff, who you are with your family, and that not varying. People notice. People really, really notice. And when you're going through good times and when you're going through bad, if you're the same, the bad times are better and people will stick with you. When you work with someone who what they say and what you do don't match, it throws everyone off. And when that person's a leader, it throws a lot of people off and you just get chaos. I have a value system that I act on, and it doesn't vary whether things are good or bad. When you haven't got that, it's very, very hard to lead and be followed and really do anything significant. And when it's not like that, the damage it brings is really evident.
Wow.